Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm going to be reviewing and showing you how to play TrollFest. So I want to start by giving a big thank you to Trick or Treat Studios for this free review copy of TrollFest that they gave me to be able to play some games with and film some content with. Thank you very much, Trick or Treat Studios. So TrollFest was designed by Bruno Feduti and Camille Mathieu, I believe. That is how their names are pronounced. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. And this is kind of a root building game where you are playing monsters and supernatural creatures that are forming a heavy metal band, and they are going on tour around a fantasy land and playing concerts, which is a really awesome, fun theme, a mix of genres, a mix of fantasy and horror with music and some tongue-in-cheek names, lots of tongue-in-cheek names. So a little bit of comedy there too. All right, so before we get too into this, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. There's also a link to my Teespring store where you can get yourself some cool Board Game Captain merchandise, t-shirts, mugs, etc. And there's a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. Link in the description down below. All right, so TrollFest is listed as, for 3 to 6 players, 45 minutes and ages 14 and up. Now, I haven't done this at 5 or 6 players yet, but it doesn't seem to change much for the different player counts. There are some things that are adjusted slightly for higher player counts to have more certain resources available. Also, one thing I would definitely note is that for higher player counts, there's going to be less playing cities for the first time because so many players out there will be going out there rushing to try to get to play a concert for the first, because you get bonus points the first player to play in each city. So there will probably be less scoring in higher player counts, but otherwise it should play just fine at any of the different player counts. Now it says 8 for 45 minutes. I always prefer a range. I don't like when they just put a static time on here, but yeah, 45 minutes is in there. This is not a super advanced game. Larger numbers of players will make this game go longer. Each player has their own full turns. But there is a thing where the more players you have, the less concert tokens you have. So it will kind of mitigate that a bit. It won't be quite as long as it would if they did not do that to scale the game properly for the different number of players. And it is for ages 14 and up. I think this is a pretty significant, by multiple years, overestimate personally. This game is not very advanced. The actual mechanics are super easy to figure out and play. I do have a couple of issues with the mechanics. I'm going to get into them in a little bit, but overall, very easy to pick up and play. The only thing that's a little complicated is the scoring, because it's a bit of a point salad. There's a lot of different ways to score points in here. However, there is a cheat sheet on the actual board, so it's not that big a deal. All right, so let's have a look at what comes in the box. So now, first thing we have here is the rules. And as you can see, the rules are really easy. 4 pages total. 4 pages of rules. Most of this is pretty darn good. I don't have much in the way of glaring problems. I have a minor issue with how you decide who goes first. Minor gripe, and I have a minor gripe with one of the scoring mechanics. So I will talk more about them during the review. But otherwise, the rules are pretty good. So I would say the rule book's pretty okay. Next, we have the board. The board is gorgeous. And you're going to see a lot of this out, but let me see if I can get it folded out to show it to you here. As you can see, the board is absolutely beautiful, very colorful. You can see all the roads on it, and there's a big cheat sheet down here for all the different ways to score bonus points at the end of the game, which is really appreciated and very nice. I'm not a big fan of this trough insert. This is kind of a junk insert. I would almost prefer no insert to this particular one, so this is a minor gripe because it's just an insert and you can just chuck it. But yeah, this is not very good. We've got places to put your components, though. You've got cards. The cards are pretty okay. They're linen finish. They're pretty decent. I like the artwork specifically on the band member cards, the musician cards. The other cards are action cards and city cards. They're fairly basic. They got nice, clean iconography, which is good. But where I think this game shines the most with the card artwork is with the band members, because you have these really cool characterful band members. Each one has a unique name, tells you what instrument they play or what class of instrument, tells you if they have bonus statistics. These guys are really cool. I love the look of the artwork on these cards. I'm a big fan of all of these. These are just great. This is probably my favorite part of the game, is how characterful the various bandmates and band members are that you will be recruiting for your fantasy metal band. Those are awesome. Okay, next we have some nice chunky wooden pieces. I have a bag here, for each of the players, all different colors. We have orange, white, blue, yellow, and black and green are all the colors. And each one has a wooden little like tour bus or tour van meeple, which is really cool. I like these. You've got one little house meeple to mark your hometown, which is nice. And then you have a bunch of these little ticket stub wooden pieces, which are used to show where you have played concerts. You leave one on each city for having played a concert there. Then we have a bunch of other wooden meeples for various things. There's a groundhog. There's all these starbursts, which are called dragon meeples. Minor gripe that they don't look like dragons. They just sort of look like a star, like a little star explosion, but they're fine. They serve their purpose well. And a few other things. They're just, chunky wooden bits for various effects. The other things I didn't mention are just things that have to do with card effects that can have you place some wooden bits on the board. So without any further ado, we're going to go over to the table. I'm going to run you through a few rounds, show you how this game plays, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to talk about how this game plays and feels, and I'm going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we can see that we are set up to play a game of TrollFest at 3 players. I'll be controlling 2 of the players here, the blue player, and here the player that is playing with the white pieces.
And I'm over here, I'm going to be controlling the orange player.
So to set up the game, you got to put out the board in the middle of the table. You have to set up a number of dragons on the dragon symbols based on the number of players you're playing. At 3 players, it's 2 dragon per dragon symbol. You have to deal everybody one of the starting artists from each of the starting artist types of decks. There are ones for guitar, singer, drummer, and bassist. And then you deal 4 random experienced musician cards and 4 random action cards to each player, and you do a draft where you draft one of those 8 cards, and then you pass the rest of them to the left. And you do that until you get past only 2 cards, at which point you draft one of those and discard the last one. Anytime you discard cards in this game, you put them under the deck. There are 3 decks of cards. There is a deck of experienced artists, a deck of action cards, and also a deck of city cards, which has the different locations on it for when you have to pick random locations for certain actions. For instance, when setting up, you had to draw a random city card to place the gopher in one of the cities. In this case, he's placed... Lynn, what is the name of that city?
It says Doombala Doom.
Yes. Then once we've done our draft, we place our starting band members out. The advanced band members have starting statistics of the 3 different stats. So usually if you got an advanced member that plays one of the basic instruments, you'll replace your basic band member. But there are band members that play other instruments. For instance, I have a band member here who plays the triangle, and another band member here who plays the keyboard, for this player playing the white pieces here. And then, Lynn, do you have any weird band members?
I have a bagpiper.
So there you go. So there are some very different things. Now, Lynn had a special card. Lynn, why don't you put that card on the board that she had drafted, called the duo card. So when making her band, she got to have 2 of the same type of instrumentalists, which is why she has 2 guitar players over there in her band. And point to your 2 guitar players. And that's why Lynn's band does not abide by the normal rules of the game in having only 1 band member playing each instrument. Now, once you've done all that and we've drafted our starting members as well as our starting hand of action cards, and we've shuffled up all the decks, we also deal up, which is slightly off camera, you can't quite see it here, it's at the top of the camera, there is a market of 7 advanced band members that can be drafted when going to cities that have the thriving cultural life symbol, which is the little metal horns here. There are also cities that have markets that when you go to them, you get to draft action cards there as well. But without any further ado, I think we're just going to get into it. We're going to show you how this goes. Now, to decide on the first player, the way the game recommends you do it is each player comes up with a band name, and you vote on who has the best band name, and the best band name goes last, but gets a bonus 5 points. So the band names we have here, this band over here that is playing blue, they are playing as the River Bottom Nightmare Band. The band over here playing white is playing as Death Tongue.
And orange is Americana Monsters.
So we decided Lynn would go first. In reality, we just chose randomly because the vote mechanic is a little iffy. It does say also if you're playing it at a game night, you could ask someone playing a different game at a different table to judge for you, which works a little better. But it doesn't work if you're playing at a game night at your own home because everyone could just vote for themselves. We did house rule that everyone could vote for someone else, but still actually had trouble with it. So then we just really, in reality, just randomly choose who goes first. So for the first turn, we each are going to be placing our hometown symbol on one of our hometowns because you do get bonus points for playing your last concert at your hometown. And we're going to be placing our tour bus meeple also in that hometown. And since Lynn is going last, that means that the band over here, the River Bottom Nightmare Band, is going first. And they've decided that their hometown is over here in Elfin Haven. So they've placed both of their meeples there. Then it moves on here to Death Tongue, who have decided that their hometown is going to be over here in Hagbarim.
My hometown is going to be Elvenhold.
Okay. All right, so now that we have all placed in our hometowns, now we're going to do our normal turns. So it is the River Bottom Nightmare Band's turn. So they're going to go to this orc city here called Dragugvokug, I think is how you pronounce that. Anyway, when you go to a city that you have not played a concert in before and does not have a number of concert ticket tokens in it equal to the number of players -1, you have to play a concert in that city and score points. So they're going to place one of their concert ticket tokens here in that city and play a show. Now you score points based first on the number of creatures you have of the right species that city has a majority of. Now this is an orc city, and this player has 3 orc band members, which means they immediately get 3 points. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3. In addition, if you are the first band to play that city, you get a bonus 2 points. So they get a total of 5 points there, which is pretty freaking awesome. Next, they're going to do the action of the city because there's a market there, which is they get to draw 4 of the action cards, choose one, and discard the other 3. So they're going to take a quick look. They're going to take one of the cards to their hand, and they're going to discard the rest, and that's going to be it for their turn. Now, moving on to the next band, Death Tongue, it is their turn to go, and they are going to move up here to this vampire city, Karpaj, I believe is how it is pronounced. Now, they have 3 vampire band members in their band, so again, being the first player to play at that city, they get a total of 5 points as well. 3 for the band members, 2 for the first, being the first to play there. Then they're going to play an action card, which says fair, and it says play this card. When drawing action cards at a market city, draw 6 cards, keep 2 of them. So they're going to do that. So they're going to draw 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they will get to keep 2 cards. So they keep their 2, they discard the other 2, and then they're going to play another card. They're going to play this card here that is called Mead, and it says play at the end of your turn, lose 5 points, and take another turn. So they're going to lose the 5 points they just got, but they're going to get a second turn. And with it, they're going to move their tour bus meeple across this dragon here, which means they get to collect the dragon, and they're going to play in this other vampire city here, and again get 5 points back for playing there and placing one of their ticket tokens in that city. Then it is the turn of, what is the name of your band again?
Americana Monsters.
So what will you do for Americana Monsters this turn?
They are going to move here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have 2 orc band members, so I believe that is 4 points total.
That is correct because you were the first player
I'm
to
orange.
play there, so you are orange. So you will go up to 14 points.
And that is it for me.
That's going to be it for you? Okay. They're going to move their tour bus over to this other orc city here because, again, that will get them another full 5 points because they are the first band to play that city. And they have, again, 3 orc members in their band. So that will move the blue score token all the way up to 15 points. And that's going to be it for them. Then Death Tongue is going to move their band up here to this dwarf city of Zwergenberg. Being that they are the first band to play there, they get their 2 points. They also get 1 point for having 1 dwarf in their band, which means they get a total of 3 points. 1, 2, 3. And that will be it for Death Tongue.
I'm going to play an action card. This action card that says move the groundhog meeple 1 or 2 steps along the road.
I can move it to somewhere you
So
can get it,
I'm
huh?
going to move it here.
Oh, very clever.
Can you discard that?
Sure.
And then I'm going to go and play that
City?
city.
So now, for playing the city with the groundhog, you get 5 points for playing the city with the groundhog, and you collect it, and you will randomly be placing it next turn. But then also, you're the first person to play that city. That's another 2 points. That's up to 7. And you have 2 orcs, yes?
Yeah, so it's 9.
9 points, which is huge. And you are orange. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Very nice. Wow, that shot you way ahead. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. The River Bottom Nightmare Band is going to move down to this vampire city here that they are going to play. They have one vampire band member, and they are the first band to play that city, so that will get them a total of 3 points. 1, 2, 3. This city has the Vivid Cultural Life symbol, which means they can draft a new band member. So having a quick look around at the band members that are available, they're going to draft a new drummer. Now, this new drummer happens to be a vampire, and when you draft a band member of the species that is predominant in the city you are playing, you get a bonus point. So they will get 1 more point on the scoreboard. After taking a card from the market for the artists, you have to replace them. So I'm going to place out 1 new musician in the rock springboard market. Now it is the turn of Death Tongue to go, and they are going to go play in this troll city here called Carnage. Now they're the first player to play there, but they have no trolls in their band, which means all they get is 2 points. However, Carnage has a thriving cultural life, so they get to draft a new band member. And they're going to draft a drummer who is a troll themselves, because their drummer was still one of the basic musicians and did not have any stats. Which means that they get a bonus point for drafting a troll drummer. And again, we're going to replace the card in the market.
Okay, so I'm going to move to this troll city.
Okay.
I'm going to play the troll city. I have 1 troll, so I believe that's
3
3 points. And there's a market there.
All right, I'll pass you the 4 action cards to pick from. There you go, and you'll pick one and discard the others.
Take this one.
Okay.
And then I have to find out where the groundhog goes.
Yes, so we're going to draw a random city. They go to Mifrakil. Mifrakil is over there. Perfect, which means that I would be able to get it with my band Death Tongue on their very next turn and get a huge 5-point bonus. So this is how you play a game of TrollFest. You play gigs, you go around from city to city, you draft band members trying to get the ultimate band, and you earn points for playing the different cities. Now, you don't get those 2 bonus points if someone has already played a city, and you can't play a city if it's already been played by a number of bands equal to 1 less than the number of players. So if 2 different bands play a city and you go to the city, you can't play there. You also can't play a city again if you have already played there. Now, one thing we didn't get to show is if you go to a city that has a thriving culture and you go to draft a band member and there are none in the market you want, you can do a blind audition, in which case you draw the top card off the deck and see if you want them to join your band or not. If you want them to join your band, they'll join your band. If not, you can discard them. You play and play until someone runs out of all of their ticket tokens. Then all other players take one extra turn. Now, if your final concert is played in your hometown, you get a bonus 5 points, and then there's a bunch of things you can get points for at the end of the game. The first thing is to count up who has the most of each of the 3 statistics. If you have the most, you get 8 points. The second most, you get 4 points. Then you count up the most of the dragons collected, and there are cards that you can collect called Light Show, which as long as you haven't collected a dragon of that color, in this case, this Light Show is a yellow dragon card, you would also count those as dragons. If you have the most dragons, you get 8 points. Second most, you get 4. If you have the most diverse band, as in the most different number of species in your band, that's 8 points. Second most is 4. If you have a classic rock band, which is just guitarist, bass guitarist, singer, drummer, and possibly keyboardist, so the keyboardist is optional, that's a bonus 8 points. If your band is all one gender, either all male or all female, that's a bonus 8 points. And if your band is all artists from the same species, for instance, all vampires or all orcs, that is a bonus 12 points. Whoever has the highest point total is the winner of TrollFest. So now let's head back over. I'm going to tell you how this game plays and talk about how it feels, and I'm going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. That was how you play a game of TrollFest. Now, let's start with the negatives so we can end on the positives. I've got a few negatives to go over with this one. So the first one is the method for deciding who's going first. So they've got this weird thing, which I like what they were going for. I just don't think they executed it properly. So here's how it goes. For deciding who goes first, you each come up with a band name. I think this part is very fun and characterful. And then you vote on who has the best band name. The best band name goes last, but gets a bonus 5 points. This is really fun, except that with the vote, in practice, it often seems to be that, first off, if you don't specify that players can't vote for themselves, which is not specified in the rules, people do. And then if everyone votes for themselves, you have a tie. And then even when you specify you can't vote for yourself, it happens too often where it's like, okay, I vote for her, she votes for her, she votes for me. It's still a 3-way tie. So we wind up picking randomly anyway. Now they do say if you're playing at a game night, you could have someone at a nearby table pick for you, which if you're playing at a game night and there's people playing another game one table over from you, this becomes really easy. And actually, I quite like that, but I feel like there should have been a better way to do it if you're just playing at a game night at someone's house, which I generally do, and you just have a bunch of people sitting around a table. So that's a minor gripe. Not that big a deal. You can just randomly decide, which I generally do. My other gripe with the rules is in the way ties are done, or rather, once all the ties have been exhausted for some of the scoring methods. There's lots of ways to score points at the end of the game. And like the things like, for instance, having the highest of a particular stat or having the most dragons. If there's a tie, the artist with the highest corresponding attribute for the highest attributes wins. Then the second highest, etc. But if all are still tied, points are divided evenly amongst the tied bands, rounding fractions down. But it's not very clear if there's a tie for first place, if that means if you have a tie for first place, and first place is normally 8 points, does that mean all the people tied for first place get 4 points each, and the person who would have had third place gets second place and therefore gets 4 points? Or do you add those points together? Do you have 12 and each of the people tied for first place gets 6 points each? I feel like that's the better way to do it, so I've done it that way, but it's not very clear. So a couple minor gripes with the rules, nothing too crazy, things I was able to make work pretty easily. And I basically just house ruled them. Now, in regard to the components, most of the components are pretty good. I really love the band member cards. I love the chunky wooden pieces. Minor gripe that the dragons don't look like dragons. Minor issue, they could have done dragon meeples. But otherwise, most of the rest of the components I think look pretty great. Love the look of the board. Okay, so for other negatives, I've got some issues with the fact that this game can be quite repetitive, especially after playing it a few times. The game does not feel super varied. You can go for different strategies of ways to get different points, but it's just another way to get different points. For instance, getting an all-male band versus an all-female band, there's no difference. Versus also trying to get, for instance, trying to get a band that has the most diverse group of players versus trying to get a band that has the most energy or highest charisma or most skill. Again, it scores just the same. There's a few different ways of scoring them, but there's multiple things in those categories. So like, you know, the highest of each of the attributes, the most of the dragons and the most diverse bands score in exactly the same ways. The most, you know, having an all male band or an all female band score exactly the same way. So there are some things that are a little different, like all artists from the same species. That one's really hard, and that one gives you bonus 12 points. And the classic rock band, which means only the 4 main starting types of instruments plus possibly an optional keyboardist, gets you 8 points. Those are a little different, but mostly the scoring feels very samey regardless of which strategy you went for, so that's a bit of a downside to it. It can feel a bit repetitive. Now, the gameplay itself is fun, and the board looks beautiful. I love the tongue-in-cheek different band members. Those are really fun. Overall, one of the biggest pluses I have for this is how easy this game is to just pick up and learn and teach. Easy to pick up and play. I can teach someone this game in probably about 3 minutes. Super easy. And that is a very, very big plus. I like this game. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with it. But that said, the game is very enjoyable. The action cards can add some nice variety and interestingness to the gameplay. The groundhog is an interesting, unique mechanic that adds, you know, reasons to change your plan on where you're going, because you may want to pick up the groundhog versus just, you know, playing in another city to get a few points. And it is interesting to try to form your band to specific set collecting guidelines, which will get you bonus points. So for all those reasons, the negatives with the positives combined, I'm overall positive on this game. I quite like TrollFest. I think it's fun. It's enjoyable. If you're looking for like an intro level root building game with a really fun supernatural mixed with heavy metal band kind of theme, which I love the theme. The theme is one of my favorite bits of this game. I would definitely recommend TrollFest to you. For all those reasons, I'm going to give TrollFest 7 out of 10 stars. I think it's a good game. I think it could benefit from an expansion to add a little more weight to it. We'll see if they do that. But right now, as it is, it's actually a very fun intro-level root building game. So if anything I talked about sounds really cool to you, I would recommend TrollFest to you. So if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me do more review and tutorial videos like this, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelt with a K on YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on the game of TrollFest or this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And until next time, game on.